Let me tell you something nobody wants to say out loud, but everybody already knows deep down. Being a nice guy doesn't work. Not in the way most people mean when they say it. Not the kind of nice where you swallow your opinion to keep the peace, where you say yes when everything inside you is screaming no, where you bend yourself into whatever shape you think someone else needs you to be. That kind of nice. It's a losing strategy. Always has been. And if you've been living that way, if you've been the guy who does everything right, who gives without being asked, who never complains, never pushes back, never takes up too much space, and you still keep ending up on the short end of things, this is the conversation you needed to have a long time ago. Here's the first thing you need to understand. When people say nice, they usually mean something that has very little to do with actual kindness. Real kindness is a beautiful thing. It comes from strength, from a full cup, from a man who has enough self-respect that he can afford to be generous. But what most people call being a nice guy isn't that at all. It's people-pleasing dressed up in the language of virtue. It's the smile you put on when you're actually hurting. It's the I don't mind when you do mind. It's the agreement when you actually disagree. It's the endless giving with an invisible scorecard running in the background, quietly keeping track of everything you've done that nobody's acknowledged. That's not kindness. That's a transaction hiding behind the mask of generosity. And the problem with hidden transactions is that only one person knows the terms. Think about it for a second. You do something for somebody. You go out of your way, you sacrifice your time, your energy, maybe your money. You don't say anything about it because you want to seem selfless. But somewhere in the back of your mind, you're expecting something back. Appreciation. Reciprocation. Love. Loyalty. Whatever it is, you're expecting it. And when it doesn't come, and it often doesn't, because nobody agreed to your invisible contract, you feel used, resentful, confused. You wonder how people can be so ungrateful. But here's the harsh truth. You never told them what you needed. You never even admitted to yourself that you needed it. You handed someone a bill they didn't know they owed and then got angry when they didn't pay it. That's not their failure. That's yours. And the world picks up on this energy faster than you'd think. People are intuitive creatures. They can feel when someone isn't being straight with them, even if they can't name it. When you're constantly agreeable, constantly accommodating, constantly making yourself small, people don't think, wow, what a great guy. Not after a while. After a while they start to lose respect. They start to feel a kind of contempt, not always conscious, not always admitted, but it's there. Because somewhere in the human wiring is the understanding that a man without edges, without opinions, without the willingness to say, no, that's not okay with me, is a man who doesn't fully trust himself. And if he doesn't trust himself, why should anyone else? There's also something that runs even deeper than respect, and that's attraction. I'm not just talking about romantic attraction, though that's part of it. I'm talking about the kind of gravity that makes people want to be around you, listen to you, follow you, trust you with things that matter. That gravity doesn't come from how much you do for people. It doesn't come from being available every time someone calls. It comes from having a center. From being someone who knows what he stands for and stands there even when it's uncomfortable. The nice guy, the people pleaser, the one who is everything to everyone, he has no center. He's a mirror. And mirrors are useful, but you don't build your life around a mirror. Now I want to be careful here, because I'm not telling you to become cold. I'm not telling you to become hard or cruel or selfish. That's not the answer either, and if you take this the wrong way you'll just end up swinging from one broken extreme to the other. The goal isn't to stop caring about people. The goal is to stop using care as currency. The goal is to stop being nice as a strategy and start being honest as a practice. There is a version of you that is both decent and direct. Both warm and boundaried. Both giving and honest about what he needs. That version of you is more attractive, more respected, and more at peace than either the doormat or the tyrant. And that's the version worth becoming. So how do you get there? The first thing, and I mean the very first thing, is you have to stop lying about how you feel. Not to other people, though that matters too. I mean stop lying to yourself. Most nice guys have gotten so good at suppressing their own discomfort that they genuinely don't know what they want anymore. They've been outsourcing their preferences for so long that they've forgotten they had any. So start small. When someone asks you where you want to eat, actually think about it. When someone proposes something you don't like, notice the resistance before you override it. Start getting reacquainted with the part of you that has opinions, desires, limits. That part of you isn't selfish. It's just human. And you've been starving it. Then, once you start hearing yourself again, you have to practice saying what you actually mean. This is where most guys freeze up, because they're terrified of conflict. They've learned somewhere along the way, from a parent, from a relationship, from experience, that expressing their real thoughts leads to rejection, to anger, to the withdrawal of love. So they've built their whole personality around conflict avoidance. But here's what you need to know about that. The conflict doesn't go away just because you avoid it. It just goes underground. It festers. It comes out sideways in passive aggression, in resentment, in the slow death of relationships that could have survived an honest conversation. The thing you're trying to prevent by staying quiet is usually made worse by your silence. Learning to speak up doesn't mean becoming aggressive. It means learning to say, "I don't agree with that," without your voice shaking. It means saying, "That doesn't work for me," without over-explaining or apologizing for having limits. It means being able to disappoint someone without immediately trying to fix their disappointment. That last one is harder than it sounds. When you've spent years making yourself responsible for other people's emotional states, sitting with someone's disappointment without rushing to take it away feels almost physically painful. But that discomfort is the price of your own freedom, and it's worth paying. Something else that matters, and this one's big, is you have to build a life that you're actually living for yourself. One of the reasons nice guys are so susceptible to people-pleasing is that they've made other people's approval their primary source of meaning. They don't have a strong enough internal life to fall back on. Their sense of worth is almost entirely external, built on whether people are happy with them, whether they're being thanked, whether they're needed. That's a fragile foundation. You cannot build a self on other people's validation because other people's validation is never fully in your control. What is in your control is what you do with your time, what you build, what you stand for, what you pursue. When you have those things, when you have a direction that's yours, you stop needing constant reassurance from the outside world. You become quieter. More grounded. And that groundedness is magnetic in a way that no amount of niceness ever was. I also want to talk about relationships specifically, because this is where nice guys tend to suffer the most. There's this idea, sold to a lot of men from a young age, that if you're good enough, patient enough, devoted enough, love will come to you. That if you just keep showing up, keep being there, keep proving your loyalty, eventually the person you want will see it and choose you. And it breaks my heart a little to say this, because I know how much pain lives in that hope. But it almost never works that way. Not because people are bad, but because attraction doesn't respond to effort and patience the way a job interview does. You can't earn your way into someone's desire. You can't perform your way into someone's respect. People feel how they feel, and those feelings are shaped far more by who you are than by what you do for them. What changes the dynamic is when you stop auditioning. When you stop trying to prove your worth and start operating from the assumption that you already have it. That shift, from seeking approval to assuming your own value, changes everything about how you carry yourself, how you speak, how you respond when something doesn't go your way. You stop chasing. You stop over-explaining. You stop making yourself smaller to fit into whatever space someone will give you. And paradoxically, the moment you stop desperately trying to be chosen, you become far more worth choosing. None of this is easy. I want to be honest with you about that. If you've been the nice guy your whole life, if it's been your armor and your strategy and your identity, letting it go is going to feel like standing in open water with nothing to hold on to. There will be moments where you speak your truth and someone walks away and you'll think, "See, this is exactly what I was afraid of." And you'll be tempted to go back to who you were. Don't. Because the people who leave when you start being honest were never really there for you anyway. They were there for the version of you that made their life easier. And as painful as that is to see, seeing it is a gift. The people who stay when you start taking up space, when you start having opinions, setting limits, saying no, being real, those are the ones worth keeping. Those are the relationships built on something solid. And you will find, slowly, that there are more of them than you expected. Most people, when they really think about it, don't want a yes man in their life either. They want someone real. Someone whose yes means something because his no is also real. Someone whose kindness you can trust because it doesn't come with a hidden invoice. So here's what I want to leave you with. Being a good man and being a pushover are not the same thing, and you don't have to choose between being decent and being strong. The world needs men who are both. Men who can be genuinely kind without being manipulated, genuinely generous without being taken advantage of, genuinely loving without losing themselves in the process. That balance isn't found by swinging toward hardness. It's found by going inward. By doing the work of knowing who you are, what you value, what you will and won't accept. By learning to trust your own instincts again after years of silencing them. By understanding that the most loving thing you can sometimes do, for yourself and for everyone around you, is to tell the truth. Stop being nice. Start being real. The difference between those two things is the difference between a life spent trying to be chosen and a life spent becoming someone worth choosing.